Godslayer God. Now wield it and kill them.
Hey guys, Thingfishy here. So, make your character, choose the Confessor starting class, and grab a golden seed as the starting item. And welcome to a build that I've wanted to make for ages. A Godskin Dex Faith build. And immediately, there's a bit of a problem. Because the obvious thing to do in this run would be to cheese the Godskin Apostle at the Windmill Heights like we did on the Arcane build for the Godskin Peeler. We could stick Black Flame Blade on that and use Black Flame Tornado to absolutely destroy everything. But there is a far more cool and interesting weapon for this build, the Godslayers Greatsword. And to get this, you have to kill one of the toughest bosses in Dragon Baron, a late game area. So for this run, I'm going to show you the easiest and most foolproof way to my knowledge of killing the Godskin Apostle in the Divine Tower and grabbing the Godslayers Greatsword early. So to get set up for this run, I followed my standard setup route. Link to the full video and play along in the description. And unfortunately, you're going to have to do all of it for this one, as we're actually going to level 2 somber weapons and a smithing one. But before all that, I'd like to thank the sponsor for this video, Naraka Blade Point. Naraka Blade Point is a melee focused fantasy battle royale, and it's doing an awesome crossover with Wolong Fallen Dynasty, the new RPG by Neo developers Team Ninja. In Naraka, you'll be able to get various Wolong styled cosmetics such as Lubu's mask for free. And this weekend, Naraka has a free trial through the official website, Epic Stores, and on Xbox Game Pass. And you can also get 50% off the game until the 21st on the Steam and Epic Stores, which is just in time to check out the brand new hero, Akos, available now. Naraka sets itself apart from other battle royale games by its focus on its ridiculously cool looking and satisfyingly complex melee combat that relies on many diverse fighting styles, powerful combos, and preempting your opponent's next move with counters and parries. So click the link in the description to try out Naraka Blade Point for free until the 19th on Steam, Epic, and Xbox Game Pass, and enjoy 50% off until the 21st on Steam and Epic platforms. So to kill the Caelid Apostle early and easily, we're going to need lots of stuff. So first head to Fort Farath to kill Grail with the Bleed Grease and the Morning Star, popping a pickled Foulfoot just as she dies. Now to Lena's Rise in Caelid. Jump onto the side of the bridge and bait the Knight's Cavalry into yeeting himself off. Yeah, he really isn't having any of this today. Okay, got him. Oh, come on, just fall off. Now to the stranded graveyard where you first started out, and down through the hero's grave. Left, then a right at the bottom to get up to this room with the banished knight inside. Wait until the chariot starts going back down, then run into the room to aggro him. Then run down the stairs and into this first alcove, He'll then get wrecked by the chariot and you won't have to fight him. Pick up the Dragon Communion seal. Now to the putrefied ruins in Liurnia and into the cellar to grab the two-finger heirloom. Now continue up the eastern coast of Liurnia to just south of the Carian study hall and drop down the stones into what is without doubt the single most wholesome area in a From Software game. Chill out with the bots for a bit, then grab the 3 cracked ones around the village. Now back to the Groveside Cave in Limgrave, and into the first room by the wolves to grab another. Then to the Minor Erdtree in northwest Caelid to grab one from this branch by the tree avatar. Now head all the way up to the Altus Plateau and ride north from the Erdtree Gazing Hill up to the Bridge of Iniquity. Ride across the battlefield and grab the Golden Vow incantation from this shack. Then up the ladder, belting out Snake Eater, to grab a second Somber 6 from this guy on the ledge. Head back to EG and level up the Dragon Communion seal to +6. Now walk to the Boar Prawn shack and head south into the village of the Albinaurics to pick up mushrooms and Centrina's lilies. We may as well pick up the first half of the secret medallion while we're here. Now head to the Divine Tower. Head around the back and as far around to the left as you can to pick up this Newman's rune as you climb the tower. Now all we have to do is head down to the bottom, which is really simple. All you have to do... So while you watch me finally do it the correct way, let's talk about this upcoming fight. I had several different ideas about how to kill this guy early on, most of which involved starting with suboptimal starting classes, leveling up many different weapons, and would require a certain amount of skill and luck. The one that I thought I'd try first was the simplest, easiest, and out of all of them, the one that I had the least confidence would actually work. Drop back to South Caelid, to the Church of Dragon Communion, and buy Rock Breath. Head back to the Divine Tower, equip the two-finger heirloom, and craft your sleep pots. Okay, so first run to the boss room, past this guy who definitely didn't kill me 20 times before I got to the room. Now step 1, put him to sleep. We've deliberately picked up a whole bunch of sleep pots, so it's fine if you miss some throws. I would recommend making a save file before you do this, as it will probably take you a couple of attempts even though this is the easiest strategy. Once he's asleep, stand next to him, buff with Golden Vow, and cast Rot Breath to inflict Scarlet Rot. This will wake him up, and this is the most dangerous part of the fight. All you have to do is put him back to sleep. Now, I was certain that the tick of the rot would wake him up each time, and that it couldn't possibly be this easy. But it is. As soon as he's asleep, you can take half of his health, and he can't attack you at all. When he starts approaching 50% health, watch him closely. As soon as you see him stir, throw another sleep pot. Then Rot Breath again. And the last hurdle, put him back to sleep. Now with this strategy, the +6 Dragon Communion seal is probably overkill, but I thought I'd show you the most optimized way of doing this for anyone who's not confident with Apostle. So it's over. Just wait until he dies. Oh, fuck. Okay, maybe you need to dodge a couple more phase 2 attacks. But I honestly can't think of an easier setup for this fight at the start of the game. When he's dead, run into the next room to grab the Godslayers Greatsword. We now have our main weapon for the run and some electric fashion. To finish our setup, head to Fort Gale in Caelid and ride round to the back of the building to grab Flame Grant Me Strength. Now back to the Cellia Crystal Tunnel and ride out keeping the cliffs on your right, turning right down this alleyway for a Somber 5. Now back to the Minor Erdtree and towards this cliff to grab the Somber 6 on the body overlooking the big pot. And finally, ride south from the Third Church of Marika in Limgrave to grab the Spike Cracked Tear by the Minor Erdtree, and then over to the Mistwood Ruins to pick up the Axe Talisman. Now for Margit. At the Grace, memorise Flame Grant Me Strength and Golden Vow, and stick the Spiked Cracked Tear and the Dex Talisman into your physic. So the Godslayer Greatsword is a colossal sword. So there's two main combat options for most of the bosses on this run. Either go for charged R2s to be a stagger monster, or and as usual, forgot to put the Axe Talisman on, so that was harder than it needed to be. I know some of you probably think that I do that every run for content, but I genuinely just am an idiot. Run through Stormvale, dodging all of the arrows perfectly. On your way through Stormvale, run into this room with the rats, and through the Stone Sword Key Gate to grab the Godslayer Seal and the Godskin Prayer Book. Then head back to the Round Table and give the Prayer Book to Corin to buy Black Flame. I didn't rely too much on ranged incantations in this run, but this is a super strong option if you do. Now for Godric. As with any big weapon for these earlier bosses, you can either go with charged R2s and staggers, or with the weapon art for the style points. Now to Raya Lucaria for Red Wolf. 2 charges will kill him, but you can change it up and lob some Black Flames for a ranged approach, or use the Queen's Black Flame in one of the bigger openings. After the jump attack is your best opportunity if you want to do this. Now if you are going to use more incantations than I do on this build, you can head up the ladder to the upper part of the debate parlour to grab Radagon's icon for some faster casts. Now for Renala. As usual, I took her to 10% health on the first cycle so that I could buff up ready for phase 2. For phase 2, the Queen's Black Flame against humanoid enemies is really quite something. Now, if you wanted to go for less charged attacks on this build, you can go kill the Putrid Avatar in Northwest Caelid for the Flame Shrouding tier. I never ended up using it on this run, but it's a cool alternative to the Spike Cracked tier. Head back to the Round Table and grab the 3rd Talisman pouch. Now head to the Erdtree Gazing Hill and up past the Wyndham Ruins and ride around Volcano Manor to the Seathwater Terminus Grace. Head into Fort Lyde and up to the roof for the Fire Scorpion Charm. Now head to Volcano Manor for Noble. At the start of the fight, use 2 charged R2s and then a couple of R1s to get the stagger. Take the riposte, then 2 more charged R2s as he transforms. Then 2 weapon arts for another stagger, then another riposte. Then panic and nearly completely throw the fight instead of just killing him with another charged R2. Head through the dungeon all the way to the Stone Sword Key Gate. Head through and jump down for the Dagger Talisman, then all the way down to the bottom to grab the Somber 7 by the Abductor. Now up to the Altus Plateau for the Draconic Tree Sentinel outside Lane-Dell. Now this guy is pretty trivial with a big weapon, as long as you're not greedy. 2 charges to start off, dodge the first attack, then another. 1 more charged attack, then a weapon art, as he transitions to his phase 2. Then you only have to deal with the last little bit of health. Now what you're seeing here is actually a +6 weapon, without the Fire Scorpion Charm, as I'd forgotten to do both of those things at this point. So you guys might even kill him at the transition. Run through Lane-Dell, bully the tree avatar with the weapon art, then head through to the Avenue Balcony Grace. Now run through the rest of the dungeon to our next. For Godfrey, as usual with a big weapon, we just go for rolling attacks. Get one in between each of his combos for a stagger at 25% health and a simple fight. For Morgott, get 2 charged attacks in at the start to trigger the dagger attack. A third will stun him out of it, then use your weapon art to trigger phase 2. Then chuck 3 black flames at him.
Champions, welcome!
Now head to Redmane Castle for the big man. And I'll just let this one play. Speak to our main man after the fight, then ride up to the mountaintops of the Giants. Ride through the Zamor ruins all the way to this cellar and down to pick up the Smithing Stone Bell 3. Now ride all the way to the Freezing Lake Grace. Jump down and wake this guy up from his nap and bait him into hitting this statue for some Smithing Stone 7s. Then ride around the lake all the way to the First Church of Marika to grab some more 7s on the hill nearby. Now we're going to head to Castle Sol for Commander Niall. And if you're thinking this is a little early for this, don't worry, there is a plan here. Kill the first summon with a charged R2 and an R1, then the second. Now the first part of the fight is the only variable. We need to get his health down to 80% any way you like. Then wait for him to do the big tornado attack. Dodge the charge, then hit him with 3 charged attacks. Take the riposte, then do another as he stands. From here, you can just use the standard Commander Nile range strat. Dodge the electric foot or the little tornado attack, then cast your spell for a very simple fight. Ride through the snowfields all the way to Ordner Town. As usual, I'm using Ordner Skip to bypass the puzzle. Jump onto this pillar, line your compass up to the right of this notch, and do 2 jumps with the direction order being 12 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Now for Melania. Nah, just kidding. Grab the Grace, then walk back to the round table. Because now we've accessed the Caelid tree, Gideon will give us the best protective spell in Elden Ring, Black Flame Protection. Now, if you're feeling a little low on Vigour, as we have and will be on this run, instead of leveling damage stats, you can stick 3 extra points in Faith and cast this spell before every fight. It's pretty much like putting on a really decent armour set. Unfortunately, as it's a body buff, you can't use it alongside Flame Grant Me Strength. So I'm going to be silly and chase the damage, but this is definitely a sensible option for more survivability. Seeing as we now have access to the snowfields, we may as well head into Mogwin's Palace to grab the +10 Somber upgrade. So chuck something at this guy, then run around to grab it fairly safely. Now back to Limgrave and down into the crater. Light the Ancestral Woods, Grace, then head into the aqueduct for the gargoyles. They're really not too much of a problem with this build. I find jump attacks and R1s the sweet spot for colossal weapons, as the recoveries are fast enough to not be too risky. And you'll also get staggers with this. Now back to Caria Manor. Run up and bully Loretta. Speak to Rani, then head down into the Knight's Sacred Ground for the Fingerslayer Blade. Back to Rani for the statue, then next door to Renna's Rise to use the teleporter to get to Ainsel River. Run through Noxtella and the Lake of Rot all the way to Astle. And yeah, bonk the head, then take a weapon art after the riposte. Now for Fire Giant, and this is a really good weapon for this fight. It's your choice really between weapon arts and charges for phase 1. Charges will get a stagger, but the weapon arts do slightly more damage. At the start of phase 2, refill your FP and start a weapon art just before the hand drops to ensure you get both parts off. Then do it again on the eye. For the rest of the fight, you can just hit the feet with Black Flame, or get in front of him and hit the hands for the last bit of health. Run through Farum all the way to the Dragon Temple Transept Grace. Now, we burn a lot of St. Trina's lilies earlier on the Apostle, so if you need a convenient place for more, you can head to the Apostate Derelict in the northwest of the Snowfield for an alternative stash of them. Back to Farum and run in to put the duo to sleep. Buff up and go for the standard strength build strats. 3 charges for the stagger, a riposte, and 2 more charges. Now head through to the Stone Sword Key Gate and up to see our best mate on the rooftops. Do a little sparring with him, then take the shard he hands you while he tells you he's retiring and heading back to Jarberg. For the Tree Sentinel, same strategy as the first. As usual, this guy is a little rougher because of the extra health. Parrying would make this fight so much easier, but if you want to do it without, just make sure you choose your moments for those charged attacks. Now for Beast and Malekith. For Beast, just focus on jumping R2s to punish most of his attacks. But a rolling poke is also safe on the attacks that have slightly longer cooldowns, such as the Boulder Throw. You'll likely get a stagger towards the end of Phase 1. If you do, finish him off with an R2 rather than taking the riposte, so that you still get repositioned for the Malekith fight. For Malekith, roll the first attack, then hit him with 2 charges. You can't get a weapon art in here, unfortunately. Then just punish that slow 1-2 combo with more charged R2s. Now head down to Deeproot Depths for the champs. The first 2 really aren't an issue. Then for the trio, you can get rid of Lionel early if you can time this weapon art correctly. Then you can just bully the other 2 with jumping attacks or weapon arts. Now back to Liurnia and towards the Carian study hall. And we'll make a quick stop here to fight the noble on the bridge for some extra fashion. He's really not a problem. Same strats as the earlier one. The only big difference is the lack of any convenient pillars to get him stuck on through the rolling attack. For this, I decided to take the very advanced approach of screaming, panic rolling, and getting hit by every single attack for the rest of the fight. If, however, this sounds a little complicated to you, you can just run behind the stairs when he starts doing that attack. Grab the Godskin Noble set, which is great if you want to walk around looking like a dragon's testicle for the rest of the run, and up to the top to grab the Curse Mark of Death. Now back to Deeproot for Fortisax. Run up to him at the start and wait for him to drop his head. Then hit a weapon art for a big old head bonk at the start of the fight. After that, a couple of Queen's Black Flames on the feet will do it. Now for Godfrey. And the key to this fight on a strength build is making sure that you get 2 charged R2s right before the phase transition. That way you can stagger Horalu at the very start. This is always going to be slightly different for everyone, depending on what Godfrey's AI does. But usually he'll do the stomp attack near the phase 2 transition. And this is enough for 2 charged R2s either side of it. Then Horalu is simple. Run in and hit Radagon with 2 charged attacks, then 2 more after dodging his next 2 attacks. Take the riposte after the stagger, then into a weapon art for the majority of his health gone after dodging only 2 attacks. The rest of the fight is pretty trivial, even if you mess up that opportunity on the triple slam like I did. Get a weapon art in here and it's game over. And as you might expect, this weapon is awesome for Elden Beast. Go for bonk strats at the start, hitting as many charges earlier on as you can. After he staggers, get 1 more in, then take the riposte. And then a weapon art as he recovers. From there on in, just do weapon arts whenever you get an opening. Now head to the Second Church of Marika in the Outer Plateau to bully Eleonora for the Purifying Crystal tier. Replace the Dex Talisman with this and head back to Mogwyn's Palace for Moog. And yes, fire damage is a big part of our build, but don't worry, this isn't going to be a Moog fight like the Pyromancer build. Because any weapon that does posture damage like this is great for bullying Moog. And our weapon art works really well for taking his health down through Nihil. As long as you can get the staggers through phase 1, the worst case scenario for phase 2 is having to get 3 more charged attacks in for a final stagger. Now back to Farum for Plassey. Run straight up to him and sneak in some charged attacks between the lightning strikes for an early stagger. Then use Queen's Black Flame on the head. From then on, run to the back left leg for more Black Flames every time you see him do one of the fire breath attacks. And then to finish, okay, maybe a little too ambitious with that one. Head through the Caelid tree all the way to Loretta. The combination of our posture damage and our weapon art damage mean that once she's stunned, the amount of damage we can do very quickly is pretty insane. And finally, Malenia. Now, I had a bad feeling about Malenia for this whole run, and it turned out to be correct. Despite the Queen's Black Flame being totally overpowered for other humanoid enemies, Malenia is just too fast. And the hyper armor she has through some of her attacks means that casting it at any point during this fight is leaving your fate entirely up to RNG. So our weapon art is out, as is the Black Flame incantation, as she'll dodge it every time. We're using a colossal weapon, which can be pretty sketchy for Malenia due to their recovery times. We have relatively low vigor because of all the different stats that we've leveled, and we can't get to a light equip load even without armor. So the easy waterfowl and clone attack dodges are out too. And although none of these are problems in themselves, the presence of all of them, along with the fact that while our damage isn't bad, this build and this weapon don't have anything unique in making this fight easier. So we're in for a bit of a tough one. To get prepared, first head back to Stormvale to get the buckler from Gostock. Then head to the Castle Morn Rampart Grace in Weeping and bully the Knights Cavalry there for the Barricade Shield Ash of War. Then to the Minor Erdtree in the Lanedale outskirts to grab the Windy Crystal Tear. Stick this in your flask in place of the Crack Tear and replace the Jar Shard with the Dagger Talisman. Equip Kari in Retaliation to the Buckler, Barricade Shield to any 100% negation shield you like, and equip both in your left hand. I also swapped out all of my blue flasks but one for red. Walk in and don't use your physic. For the fight, I use my standard parrying strategy, linked to the tutorial in the description if you're not comfortable parrying her. 3 parries, take the riposte, then hit her with a charged R2. When she waterfowls, swap the buckler to the shield and hit Barricade Shield. Then dodge the rest of waterfowl with 3 rolls with a direction order 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock. She will still heal as she hits you through this, so it's not ideal. When you get to phase 2, dodge the first flower attack, then drink your physic. From here, you have 3 minutes to kill her, whilst being able to dodge waterfowl and the clone attack with those lovely light rolls. This was one of the very rare cases of phase 2 Malenia being easier than phase 1. And that's it, how to make a very powerful Godslayer build in Elden Ring. If you've made it this far and actually tried this build, please let me know how you got on in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more Elden Ring build guides. As always, thanks for watching. See you soon.